Islam, Islam, Islam. Welcome to Moorish Heritage and History School, Eyes Wide Open. This is your host, Anita L., along with my co-host, Mizraim Aleph L.
Peace and love, Morris. Peace and love, Anna E. How are you tonight?
I am doing fantastic.
That is great. That is really great. Cool.
All right. And Rosmariah Bay.
Islam, peace and love to all.
Peace and love.
Islam. I am not sure if Cujo is going to make tonight's broadcast. He had some things he needed care of, but he may or may not join us, or may not be able to join us. Let me just make sure I don't see him anywhere. Nope. All right, so if he joins us, he'll be joining us at a later time or not at all this week. Just like I said, he had some things that he needed to take care of. So let's see. Let's get right, let's get right into the broadcast. Let's see. Want to let all of our, welcome to all our internet listeners. The chat room is open, or it will be momentarily. I was busy doing some last-minute things and didn't get a chance to open up the chat room like I normally do right away. So the chat room will be open momentarily. Big shout-out to our family listening over in South Africa, Great Britain, Islam, Japan, the Philippines, Japan, Great Britain, South Africa, the Netherlands. Oh, geez, Islam brother Al Basat over here in the Netherlands. Of course, to our family here on the Americas near Mexico, Venezuela, Brazil, and Cuba, and also the family we have yet to connect with. Islam, and thank you so much for joining us. Big shout out to our family listening via the telephone. Thank you so much for joining us every week, filling up the phone lines before the show even starts. We certainly appreciate the participation of the family as we together uplift fallen humanity. Let's see. Each week we do a public announcement of Moors that have been kidnapped and are being held hostage by employees of corporations whom we have been mentally conditioned to believe are government. They are not. They are employees of a foreign government on American soil, and these employees are kidnapping the people literally off the street, and they are holding them for income. So what we do in an effort to bring awareness to this crisis is we make an announcement of those Moors that have been kidnapped and are being held hostage for income, and we just try to educate everyone. So we start out with our sister Al-Karay Bey, who was kidnapped through a joint venture between Memphis and Shelby Corporation under the purview of Tennessee. Memphis and Shelby, if we have the county, city, town, township, borough corporation that actually literally kidnapped the Moor off of the land, we make mention of that. If we do not have that information, we just reference the union state that these corporations are in purview of, because those union states are bound and obligated to protect all people from foreign and domestic invasion. So next we have Dawood Il under the purview of Arkansas, Amir Muslimin Il, Kusura Kush Bey under the purview of Missouri, Asar Patal Amin Bay under the purview of Ohio, Jeremy Paler Ill, Cherry Thorne Bay, J. McCall Brooks Bay, Joseph Kanaday Ill, Kush Amir Bunch Ill, Emmanuel Billings Bay, Yasin Khalik Alamin Ill, and Michael Curry Bay all under the purview of North Carolina, Noble Crisco Ill under the purview of New Jersey, Nasaya Aziz Ill and Crystal Ill, kidnapped through a joint venture between Mercer, Freehold, and Trenton Corporation under the purview of New Jersey. We are still waiting on word regarding Patricia Bay's infant baby that was kidnapped, and also Malik Ill Bay by the Atlantic Corporation under the purview of New Jersey.
Yeah, let me add on too. That brother might be home. That brother might be home anywhere within the next week. Like he could be home. Yeah, the brother Malik Bay. So I'll keep you posted on that. Moses coming home.
All right. Fantastic.
But I just wanted to say his fight might not. It's not going to stop there. But he could be home in a week. But there's still a fight at hand. So.
Wonderful. That is fantastic. All righty. And then let's see. We have Eldridge Tarrant Fisher Ill and Martisa Vion Ill under the purview of Indiana. Solomon Ill Bay and Mumi Abu Bay under the purview of Texas. William Barrett Ill under the purview of Virginia. Bomani Abidwell Ill, kidnapped by Chesapeake Bay Corporation, or I should say employees operating through Chesapeake Corporation under the purview of Virginia. Cherry Bay under the purview of West Virginia. Thomas Lee Bay under the purview of California. And Victor Eduardo Avalle Juarez Ill, kidnapped by employees of the Harlem Corporation under the purview of Georgia. All right, so that is it regarding Moors that have been kidnapped and are being held hostage. We're going to get right into our subject of today's broadcast because it is a bit lengthy, and it is, I think, most impacting, informative, and, once again, we need our concepts straightened out. One of the things that I realize is that, as much as we all run around appearing to be most active and our intent is probably very noble and very honorable, our concepts are still, a bit skewed. And it is because of this that these modern Europeans, right off the bat, will know exactly what we are about, where we stand, and really what we really know in terms of family. Because we have to recognize this is all about uniting family. That's all it's about. And if you're not about the uniting of family, you automatically default to the destruction of the family. It's just that simple. There's no way around it. If you're not about uplifting fallen humanity for the uniting of the family, and you're allowing your ego to run away with you for whatever reason, you're automatically defaulting to the downfall of the family. Today's broadcast is entitled, If I Could Just Get You to Thinking. I could just get you to thinking, you would realize family. Modern Europeans and the offspring of modern European daughters cannot be nationals of the Moorish family. That infiltration, that is what we are dealing with right now. Even if you are helping, it doesn't make you a Moor, and that is clear with Prophet Noble Drew Ali's statement Europeans are helping me. Why aren't you? End quote. Nowhere did he say, because you're helping, you can be a Moor. In fact, he said, quote, we do not wish to amalgamate with the pale-skinned nation, end quote. That right there is telling you there is a great distinction. As such, there's a huge difference between being a member of a temple and being a Moor national. You can be a modern European, amalgamated though you may be, you can be a member of the temple. You cannot be a Moor national. That is not your bloodline. I don't care what well, really, we have to look at this. You know, I was watching a program the other day, and it was so crazy. I was guided to actually watch a portion of this program. I couldn't stand it because it was so ridiculous. But you had a bunch of amalgamated Moors, that would be your modern Europeans, on this TV program, and they're having an argument about being, what was the word they used? Biracial. Biracial. What is it? You can't say I'm not biracial because I am biracial. We have to look at these words that are being used, and people run away with them. What the hell is biracial? You know, that's just another way to confuse people. There's no such thing as biracial. You are whatever your mother is. There's no such thing, my father's Italian and my mother's Irish, so I'm half Irish and half Italian. What kind of craziness is that? There's nothing like, that's like saying, okay, my mother's a dog and my daddy's a cat, and so I'm half dog and half cat. And nothing in nature goes like that. You are whatever your mother is. We got to think about some of these things that we run away with, because they were designed to confuse us, to get us caught up in foolishness, so that once, these modern Europeans can continue to have a foothold in stealing our birthright, because that's what it's about. It's about the theft of the birthright. We as Moors, we must study. It is so imperative that we study. We must think. We must analyze. And we must get out of the ego mind, which is why Prophet Noble Jewelry said, quote, draw a circle around your passions and square up your conduct, end quote. If we could just do the above, which is just a few things, and they're not very hard, we would never make public, either verbally or written, that demonstrate lack of knowledge, which is not the history of Moors. We need to wake up, which is why Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, wake up, you sleepy-headed Moors. Wake up. It is a sad, sad situation when we don't comprehend bloodline, when we don't comprehend that, look, this is about the matriarchy. There is no way on planet Earth that any bloodline comes from a son. Yet we got sons out there claiming the offspring of modern European daughters, and then what's going to happen? They're going to send in these paperwork talking about, I want my offspring to be more, I want to slap an ill or a bay on here. No, that's not going to happen, because that child is whatever the mother is. So if the mother is a modern European, that child is a modern European. That's all there is. And you're fighting a losing battle when it comes to true biology on this planet, in this dimension, because that goes against nature. And do nothing go that way. We need to stop. We need to think. We need to analyze. We need to come up out of this mental enslavement, because that's why we're still in the situations we're in now. The next issue I have, because I don't want to stay on that too long, because that's just a continuous issue we have, true biology. It's just a continuous issue that we are going to have. So the next issue is a document was sent to me that absolutely demonstrates lack of family unity, demonstrates lack of study, demonstrates lack of thinking, demonstrates knowledge of law, demonstrates lack of knowing who is who and what is what. And I hate to say it once again, that this trash was put out by a Moorish son with an ill bay on his appellation. This is so, so sad, because this communication went out to a large community audience of international proportions. From an ill bay, gave himself the title of emperor. If that ain't ego, this is exactly what Prophet Noble Drew Ali is talking about when he says, draw a circle around your passions and square up your conduct. We ain't never going to get nowhere if people don't get out of their ego. This is a vast estate for everybody. Everybody. Can't nobody claim nothing, because this was given to us. It was passed on to us as caregivers, if you want to say, by our ancestors. Millions and millions and millions of years ago, and that's why this is issue of nationality. That's why it is a big issue to get people to, in some form or fashion, declare that they are something other than what they are, which is a Moor. Because our bloodline goes very deep and very long. And the only way that we can be tricked from that is if they get into our head based on ego, that we are something smaller than all of the vast history that encompasses the Moors. Puts an ill bay on his appellation, and then slaps on emperor and sends this document out and makes huge mistakes that so glaringly obvious to even an uninformed person, claiming to be, first of all, there's an assumption in this documentation that there is a nation of North Carolina. Let's start right there. North Carolina is a corporation, or let me say it was a company that was started by Great Britain. It's right there in the lesson. It's a company that was started by Great Britain that was later incorporated. North Carolina is not a place. It is a company. This land here is northwest Mexico. And any initiate who reads even a little bit of the prophet's work will see that. Look, you not clear? Anybody puts that North Carolina is a nation, you did not read chapter 47. Ain't no North Carolina listed in there. You can't, North Carolina, you just put in big, bold letters, sent it around the world that you are a fiction. And then you slapped your national image on there and got the nerve to be wearing a black fez. A black fez which demonstrates that you have knowledge all around, and you put out some foolishness like this, we have got to stop running from ego. It is delaying the rise of the Moors. It's going to happen anyway. This movement, this information, I mean, I can rip this thing to shreds. But here's what I want people to get, because I know Ms. is going to go in on this. This is what I want people to get. This movement, this Moorish divine and national movement of the world, this ain't about saving everybody, because it's not possible. People who do not make that next transition, you are running with ego, you are not going to make the next transition. You're not going to make it, because you're going to continue to be making mistakes that go against the family, and you never take sides against the family. You never take sides against the family. You just do not do this. This uninformed person puts documents out there alleging to have some gold backing a debt, gold-backed bond based on the treaty currency exchange, foreign exchange currency exchange agreement. This is not a solicitation for funds. Sounds like that to me. Because let me tell you, if you are not soliciting funds, then why are you putting this out there? And then you're going to reference that this is an indigenous trust. What the heck is that? This is an indigenous trust, and it's in contact with Euro and USD providers. Why? Euro and USD, which is United States, really it's United States of America dollars, that ain't even money. That's worthless pieces of paper. And the euro, has anybody done the science on the euro? Do we even know what type? First of all, on this land, the only exchange that is sanctioned on this land is based on the Coinage Act of 1792, and in that act it says that if that exchange is altered on this land, it is an act of treason. That act for the corporation. The people can exchange in any rate they so desire. I mean, we got to really do our research. We have got to study. We have got to demonstrate better than this. This document alleging to be gold-backed, a gold-backed bond, all right? It's alleging to be a gold-backed bond. The prophet says there will come a day when you will see a $20 bill on the floor or the ground, and you will step over it. People don't study. They don't think. They don't contemplate. What does that mean? What exactly does that mean? Because the prophet never spoke from ego. He never spoke from a low place. He always spoke from a high place, and everything he did was to pull us up to that high place. So what exactly was he saying? He was saying that the day you step over a $20 bill is the day you recognize exactly what being an heir is, what it's all about. And you will walk of your ancestors. You ain't going to be wallowing around begging for euros and United States of America dollars, and you don't need gold. If you check our history, we wore gold as an energy conductor. It was not a means of exchange.
True.
So we need to think. We need to think. The prophet said, go back to the mindset of your foremothers and your forefathers. This does not demonstrate that. This demonstrates absolute folly. We need to wake up. We got to do better than this. We got to do better than this. Get up out of your ego. Draw a damn circle around your passion. Square up your conduct. Straighten up and fly right. Because this stuff cannot continue to happen. And if it does, trust and believe the energies will be circling around to take you out. Because this is not what we are all about. Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam, for sure. You know what? One of the saddest things, after, just continuous efforts to break down the distinguishment between national domiciles, quasi-national domiciles, and municipal domiciles, it's disheartening to see that this brethren put himself under a quasi-national domicile jurisdiction. But the emphasis is that he's saying nation of North Carolina, and we all know for a fact that North Carolina is not a nation. Came into existence about the 1600s, plantation style. So these are not nationalities. I trust that somebody get the message to the brother before they do, because they wouldn't have a dispute with that. Oh, you want to claim to be under our jurisdiction when they start regulating him, because nowhere on here to say the Moorish nation, though the Moorish seal is used as the background. The heading says Nation of North Carolina. That's so quasi and fake, you know what I mean, that there's almost nothing else to explain except for the mind state, the mental slavery of the people, of some people, shall I say. It's real. It's really real. As a true and living nation, we are distinct, separate political communities, if you will, when it comes to this European, for sure, because, we are different societies. And one revelation I had, I want to talk about this real briefly because it all correlates. But remember that when these Europeans came, the 13 colonies, the original 13 colonies, North Carolina was a part of that. You know what I mean? So it's indisputable that him claiming to be a part of the nation of North Carolina puts him back in that jurisdiction. I just want to go back to what you were saying earlier about not wishing to amalgamate with the pale-skinned nations of Europe. One of the things that stood out to me, and this is a revelation I had as of recent, and it didn't hit me like this until I heard a European say it. I'm not, there's no such thing as races. I have my reserves about the type of amalgamations between Moors and Europeans, but I'm not a hater. I don't hate anybody. But there are certain things that are self-evident. So, keeping in mind that these people who established the colonies were indentured slaves. They were servants. You know what I mean? Fleeing from a jurisdiction of Moors across the Great Atlantis. So when they came here, of course, they was trying to take over the land and establish their independence from who they were fleeing from. And I was watching something, and he said, listen, we're not ever going to be slaves again. We're going to fight the British till the death. Like, we're just not trying to be slaves again. And then he went into the whole Declaration of Independence speech. And when he said it, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Because these people were slaves, they had the philosophy. Now, I tell you, I agree with just about everything in the Declaration of Independence, but this one line is thought-provoking. It says, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Just think about that right there. Self-evident that all men are created equal. And I'm thinking about it like, all right, I know I'm a Moor. I know I'm American. I know we're Moors. You know what I mean? To me, it's not self-evident. And the reason why is this. What's really self-evident is, and I'm not saying that you can judge somebody's character based off of their skin complexion, because you have good and evil no matter what skin you're enveloped in. But what I'm saying is it's not self-evident that we were created the same because we have melanin and they don't. That's self-evident.
Right.
The melanin, you feel what I'm saying? The melanin is a natural advantage on this earth plane for us to exist. To me, that's self-evident. You know what I mean? We're not the same. On the same note, when we talk about what's self-evident, it also struck the memory of a parent, right? These are things that are self-evident, meaning we all know the original people were copper complexion, various tones. You know what I mean? This is the obvious fact. You look at American, it does not describe the pale-skinned nations of Europe in any fashion, which Noble Drali was saying. We do not wish to amalgamate with these pale-skinned nations of Europe. No hate, just, it is what it is. So things that are self-evident, put on the record. The definition of heir apparent says an heir having indisputable rights, one who, if he lives, will by course of law succeed his ancestor. So the Aboriginal people, being the heirs of parents specifically in the American land, you know what I mean, in contrast with this Declaration of Independence, being a separate political community fleeing from Great Britain and whatnot, that I don't know if those truths can actually be held to be self-evident. Like, yeah, we all were birthed in a womb, but it's this distinguishment in nature between Moors and these pale-skinned nations of Europe. So, being as though natural law is supreme, why will we keep going into these artificial jurisdictions that were created in nations of Europe who are under or held dearly to a theory that all men were created equal? And that's as a self-evident truth. But we're so blind, we don't even see that it's not self-evident. You know what I'm saying? And try to get into their jurisdiction. So now with these same people who are not really created equal, I'm just saying in the law of nature, I'm not hating, love to everybody. But what I'm saying is for Moors to keep trying to get under that jurisdiction is like a self-inflicting wound. You know what I mean? They were trying to flee from some of those same oppressions and suppressions. So with that being said, that was something to think about, knowing who is who and what is what, because there's a difference between us. That being said, again, I can't emphasize enough, North Carolina is not a nation or nationality. It's a quasi-national domicile, and if you want to go in even more than that, it's a corporation plantation company. That's what it is. That goes for all of these quasi-national domiciles, which is why, as a nation, we try to emphasize the distinguishment between, the American land or the Mexican land and these corporations that are operating on them with alleged boundaries. You know what I mean? Like these different boundaries they cut out by finitors that are artificial, not really there. So it's not real. I just hope, I trust that the brothers see the light before they really rip him or use him to further infiltrate the family by putting others in that jurisdiction or in that artificial jurisdiction, because it's just sad. So knowing who is who and what is what, we have to look at these self-evident truths that, when you're talking about the heirs apparent, there's a whole another supreme political jurisdiction that we have the right to belong to, you know what I mean, opposed to being under them. Because, see, some people, like we was talking the other week, some people get weary and want to wave, or maybe this was just done out of plain ignorance or lack of knowledge, you know what I mean? But indeed, I must say the rights of indigenous people, the people do have the right to, establish their own identification cards, to use any designs, signs reflecting past, present, future manifestations of their culture. But the nation of North Carolina, first, is not a nation, and that's not ours. Oh, it's on our land. So those were some of the opening distinguishing points I wanted to make on this subject. One other thing, you was mentioning the monetary and the gold. I don't think Noble Drew Ali was slacking when he said, the gold belongs to the citizens and the citizens alone, but not these United States citizens. He was talking in the sense of American citizenship, which it is a difference. We can go even above that, being Aboriginal, Indigenous, being nationals. We can even come outside of that class of citizenship. However, you got to keep in mind that the 14th Amendment was not for real liberation. You know what I mean? These still made people, that made people subjects, or it was intended to make people subjects, and all they need is consent, going back to the Declaration of Independence, where it says, these governments, they derive their just powers from the consent of the governed. If you consent to that jurisdiction, then, you know what I mean, they're not even trying to have a conversation. They're just going to start applying the Negro laws, black codes, U.S. codes and all of that there, which are just extensions of those subject rules, if you will. So that being said, look at the statement of not wishing to amalgamate with the pale-skinned nations of Europe on multiple levels, on multiple dimensions. And it's not to say, we want to hate the pale-skinned nations of Europe and, we don't like, I'm pretty sure everybody has their reserves. But what I'm saying is that this right here is also like kind of amalgamation, you know what I mean, on the political level, where it says, nation of North Carolina. So, again, I just trust people stay out of those quasi-national jurisdictions and keep it a low to you. Keep it a low to you, you know what I mean? You don't want nothing like that at your heading, especially as a nation, nationality. Can't stress that enough. Islam. So for now, I yield the floor, family. Islam?
Yes, I have something, but here, let me get off of the. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Islam.
Like you said, keep that off of the heading, which really this was this person's personal ID, which really doesn't make it any better. But at the same time, as you're saying, stay off of those headings, the nation of North Carolina, lack of knowledge for certain. But what I was thinking is it possible, let's get into, my new word is get into the trenches, trying to get into the thought mindsets of what our people, of what many of the people are thinking, albeit it may be in lack of knowledge. But could it be that this person actually thought that they could start a nation, which goes back to the fact that you can't do that either. That's a gross disrespect for nature and for women who already come here with the nation in their womb, which is what it's about, birthright. That's why everyone is what their mother is. And when you try to not to negate that, you're out of order, because that's the reason why. So maybe this person, and this is where the arrogance comes in that you spoke of earlier, Annie Abe. The arrogance mixed with lack of knowledge is very lethal. that they could, a nation, it just doesn't make any sense, but that happens quite a bit, especially with people, be it mostly the sons for whatever reason, but whoever follows them, as you had mentioned, man, it's like, listen, I hope that this brother gets it straight before other people follow what he's doing, because they themselves have not studied either. And everyone's looking for someone to guide and to lead and all this. And we know that because we know a lot of that, because a lot of times when we get people who say apply for a card or whatever, by what they say, oh, well, I've already done my birth certificate redemption, and, I did this and I did that. And, you know yourself that, listen, everybody has a right to an identification card regardless. And this is why the Prophet Ali said, listen, that your nationality card will change in your pocket. That is, once you really realize who you really are and what is really going on, regardless to the things that you involve yourself in. So we've mentioned this before. If you want to involve yourself into association and membership, a club, whatever it is, you should enter as a Moor, and if you should leave as a Moor. But what's happening, or as who you are, but what's happening is people are going into these things thinking that these are what makes them who they are, like going into, right. And then that other brainwashing that you're talking about, and indoctrination really, is also looking for someone to save them or to represent them when you can't be represented. Those are basic things that have been said for years and years. That idea is what has been bestowed upon the people from a corporate perspective of them being property, chattel, slaves, mentally enslaved, if nothing else. Because, see, people think that they're free. We think we're free because we can go to a place or go to the mall or go to the store or go to wherever's going on. But all of those things have been established by the same corporations. It's almost like the plantation has grown to be really huge. We're going to say corporations, because the people who we have been thinking is government are in fact, not government, they're corporations, but because of the indoctrination of the mind, they're able to expand their corporate fictitious boundaries to like every place you go. At the same time, it's like, be in this world, not of it. If you are aware where you are, you would recognize that although, like, if you're there in a corporate setting and you have knowledge that you are, then you are where you say you are, because you know that those corporations are operating upon your land, your ancestral state. So therefore, the original step is on the land and not on a corporation operating on the land. You see? So it's all knowledge and mental indoctrination that causes the actions and reactions. One of those is that anytime you have a quote-unquote legal or lawful issue, that you need a quote-unquote attorney, not to be confused with a lawyer, because a lawyer is a layman, one who knows the law. That's what we all are commonly. That you need, that you're thinking you need an attorney or someone to speak for you, you're thinking you need someone to speak for you, and if you logically look at it, the only person that would be within these corporate venues that pretend to be court would have to be an attorney, because an attorney, it speaks for is an officer of the corporation. That's what he really is. Not a lawyer. Is an officer of a corporation. So you're going to go get him to speak for you because you need someone to speak, and you don't realize that you just got an officer of that corporation and or so-called court, which is a corporation. However, if you want to say officer of the court, you're still saying officer of a corporation, because the court itself is a corporation, because that's what it is. So you go get them, and then you can look at the conflict there, because all you have to do is look up in propria persona, and it tells you right there in that definition that all attorneys are officers of the court. Their first interest is to the court and not you, which means, if I could say it again, all attorneys are officers of a corporation. Their first interest is to the corporation and not you. In the meantime, you think you're in a court and you're in the corporation. See? So I said all that to say that maybe this brother who has this nation of North Carolina, well, first of all, he's very unknowledgeable, and it is very, the reason we're even doing this, because we're not saying who he is, because that's not the important part. The important part is to show where the grave error comes in, and that if there's any people out there, any family that would follow behind him or someone like him, you are going into a bad place, because, see, we're all one family, and that's what we have to get to understand, and stand under. It's that we're all one family, and the force to make changes is all that we're discussing right now, because this right here has to be thrown out. Absolutely be thrown. Yes, that's the reason why we're going. We're not going over to, pick at anyone. We're going over to because we're not mentioning who that is. Some of you may know if you got the same email we got, and I hope the brother who did this is listening and gets it straight. But if his arrogance does not allow him, well, then this is why people who work with ego and arrogance could never run a nation. Well, really, women run nations. Women run everything. But they could never be a party to it, because their mindset is so skewed that they will sell the family out. What he just did, he sold himself out. But the real bad part is that he sent this stuff to, as you said, he sent it to some international places. I believe he sent a copy to the President of the United States of America, Obama, presently. Yeah, he sent it to some places. It's like, damn, this is why they keep messing with us, and the rest of the world is still waiting. It's still waiting for us to wake the hell up. Yeah.
You know what? Just to go into a little bit of history of how he could have done this better, right? Now, sad to say, first and foremost, North Carolina, as we said already, is not a nation.
No.
But if he knew, if you're going to declare your nationality or make claim to a nationality, make sure it's official. Make sure it's, your claim. I think, and I'm not suggesting anybody do this, but if he knew the history of North Carolina as he claimed this as a nation that he's a part of, you know what I mean? It probably, because you got to remember the borders and boundaries of these quasi-national domiciles were different. So what they call Tennessee was a part of that. You know what I mean? At one point, I know it's really not. I'm just talking about the history on paper of what they're calling today North Carolina. Now, knowing that, and Tennessee being an aboriginal appellation, like, he would have been better off making a tribal card, like the tribe of Tennessee or something like that. Not that I'm suggesting that, but little detail would have put this card in a different jurisdiction. You know what I'm saying? Opposed to the nation of North Carolina. And don't get me wrong, Tennessee is not a nationality either. I'm just saying the appellation is aboriginal. So if it would have been tribe of Tennessee, okay, nobody could dispute, because it's not a nationality card. You know what I'm saying? He would have been representing or presenting himself, as a tribal member, because the scale that he did this on is so small. He should have just kept it in the aboriginal small scale, opposed to, a quasi-national small scale, if he was going to do anything. You know what I'm saying?
What's interesting, though, what's interesting is that, okay, so maybe he decided I can do what I want to do, and I'm going to make it the nation of North Carolina. Now, what it also shows that we want to put out is that why is it that we won't honor the nation that we already are? Now, that's an interesting point. Yeah.
Yeah. And the Fez is on. And the Fez is on. On his head. Again, Moors, I love everybody, but the garments do not make you competent. They just do not. You know what I mean? They're not magic caps. You know what I mean? They do all due respect to the crowns. But you know what I mean? If you're going to put that crown on, really present it in present it right, represent it right. You know what I'm saying? Like this right here is a sad sight just looking at it. Nation of North Carolina, Moor with a fez on and the gray seal. He should have just put the eagle back there. I'm not dissing the Brethren, but like it's so many infusions with this that, you know, it's like it's confusing. You know what I mean?
Well, that's interesting. That's interesting, Miss, because let's bring that out. You had mentioned it. So he's got this thing saying the nation of North Carolina. North Carolina is a quasi-national domicile. If you thought you were starting a new nation, you're dishonoring the one that you already are from, which is family, which is what it's about. Then you have the audacity to put, as you said, the seal, the ancient symbol of civilization is really what that is, on that card that is a quasi-national domicile.
Yeah.
That's absolutely absurd.
Mm-hmm.
So, because the only thing going on here on this land, as far as seals are concerned, really, let's get this out, is the pyramid, what we call it, the Great Seal, right, which is really what people say it looks like the pyramid, and it's really the ancient symbol of civilization, and it comes off of the geometric patterns that you'll even find on the astrology wheel. But it is the ancient, which connects to all harmonizing energies, energies, the same energies, or elements, elemental energies. So that's what that is. That's an ancient symbol of civilization. You know, it's not no wicked Illuminati bull crap the way people think they understand it. And then you have the eagle, which is what was authorized to occur here in terms of bringing in really establishing the United States of America. You know, not the United States, not America, but the United States of America. Those are the only two quote-unquote seals of officiality here on this land. Anything else you make up can be a personal seal, a family seal, a crescent, or whatever like that, you know, but it is not of the national seals of the people. Got to get that clear because a lot of people, think they can make up a new one to that.
Yes, and also, let me just say this, because this is where this is where it is imperative, see, for someone to be utilizing the Great Seal of the Moorish Nation, you must absolutely have drawn a circle around your passions and squared up your conduct. Absolutely. You cannot be putting, you can't just put yourself in that position because, I'm going to be really cool if I got the seal. I'm going to be real cool. I'm going to be looked at. Or how about this one? I'm going to be able to generate some revenue because, people got to come to me and they got to give me some finance. Or I'm the go-to person because I got the great seal and I'm still on papers and I'm also popular. This is not about ego. That's not about ego. And that's why you have to have demonstrated. For a long time I heard, okay, you do not choose yourself. It is your work. It is your work, what you have done on behalf of the family as a whole that determines, your activity within the nation. And it's got to be absolutely correct and on point. It's got to be 100% law. It's got to be 100% family-oriented. If it's anything else, it's out the water. You're actually there's a guy in the chat room, Ross Il Bay, who's really trying to push this whole wanting to adopt or bring in a modern European daughter's children, and he's just like on a roll in the chat room. One of the comments, Islam, the lady said that if your mother is European, then you cannot be a Moor. Then why do they nationalize Moors without asking them if their mother is European? And all humans have melanin. And the proper word is carbon. Melanin means the same as black. All people are made of carbon. Some just have more present in their skin tone than others. That's why the sun. Okay, Islam. Okay.
Nerd.
Then you.
No.
The lady said that if your mother's European, why without asking them if their mother's European? I mean, he's just really on one, and I think this is the same brother from last week. That look, the bloodline doesn't come from the son. There are other grand sheiks who disagree with what is being said here. Through the experiments, the Caucasian was grafted from the Moors. Were they not? Yes, they were, but that doesn't make them Moors proper. I mean, you know what? He's just really he's not. It's just
and if there's other great sheiks, why y'all don't call in? Like, just call in so we could talk about it.
Call
if
in.
That's the case. Y'all in the chat room, Twitter, typing.
Instead of
call
running his mouth, he needs to just be listening. Because, see, that's what the problem is. You're talking too much and you're not listening. And really the problem here, here's a MHHS-Eyes Wide Open, RV publication sends out nationality cards to Moors with European mothers. Well, you know why? I don't believe that has never happened. There's never been a nationality card that was sent out to a Moor, that we are aware of, whose mother is European. But here's the thing. What we do with the comprehension that Moors are going to be noble. Because the reason you're a Moor is because you're supposed to be noble, which means that your actions are supposed to be noble. This whole Moorish nation is based on honor, respect, nobility. All right? That's what this is all about. Here, and the other side of that is we do have some modern Europeans who have slipped through the cracks. And that's why we have had to do more and more things to try and catch this, which ultimately slows up the process. But here's the thing. You cannot alter what is. You might not like it. It might be your personal preference. But it's not going to change the fact that if your mother is European, you are European. And you can go out there and you can get all the papers in the world that you want to that says that you can slap an ill or a bay or a day or an hour or outing on your application. If your mother is of European descent, you are a European, and now you have just made yourself a plaintiff in error. That's all you're going to end up doing, because everybody around the world know who the Moors are. Everybody knows who the Moors are. And you ain't going to be able to leave this continent. And pretty soon you ain't going to be able to walk around this continent. Because if you are out there calling yourself an ill or a bay and your mother is a modern European, you're going to get checked. One way or another. The universe is going to check you. Your own people of European descent will check you, because they ain't going to allow no traitors in their family. They're just not going to do it, as the universe is not allowing across the board. This is about nationality. It's not about your personal feelings.
Exactly, and that has happened already in courtrooms or so-called courtrooms with some who have done that and have been European. They already know. You know, like you said, they're not going to allow that dishonor. They'll check them for that. The same thing goes with Moors, who don't truly honor their mothers and fathers. But see, here's the thing too. All the Aboriginal indigenous people at all four corners of the earth, all the Aboriginal indigenous people, we know the Aboriginal. I didn't say indigenous, Aboriginal and indigenous. Because if you're Aboriginal, you're indigenous. But if you're indigenous, it does not mean you're Aboriginal. And that's the distinction there. And everyone has rights, and they're all to be honored, birthrights, whatever their nationality may be. But so we know that all Aboriginal people are that. And then we also know that all Aboriginal people are heirs apparent in terms of having various copper-toned skinned people. And then we know those who are amalgamated. And then we know, we have to now get into the true history of the birth of this other nation. Now, you need to watch Lincoln the Vampire Hunter, Vampire Slayer, I think it is, give you some idea of that. But at the same time, the Yakubian experiment and all that is what people do not want to know about, but it is in all ancient records, including the bibliophilia text that people read in the Bible, with the distinction of Genesis 1 and Genesis 2. Genesis 1 is the manifestation on the sixth day, which is us, into the flesh, human family. It is about Adam and Eve and his descendants. That's a totally different thing. So now we're talking about experiments, which a lot of people, or the genetic experiments. The brother said, didn't we create? Now this is really interesting here. Didn't we create them? And yes, we did, which is why we have this problem across the planet now of this so-called prejudice, so-called racial divide, and as such. Because one thing we need to accept is that we gave up our DNA, which is our property, and mixed it. And that's why the Bible says, look what you have wrought. And so we have to accept the fact that that they are in fact a part of us because of that one act. But then we rejected them. See, this is the truth of the matter, and everything is split now. At the same time, they're amalgamated. Period. So now, here, man, this thing gets so deep. And they were in slavery first, all the way back to when they established the so-called religion of Christianity. That is bound and origins in them trying to be free from the slavery that they were put in, being slaves. It's just the truth. Later on, they became indentured servants, etc. But originally, they were absolutely treated horribly by us and by Moors, all right, as slaves. And we just put up that, and we dealt with some comments and history of Constantine, who everyone knows is the father of Christianity. And you read that, it just proves it. And it's right there. So, yes, this is true. But the fight becomes, or the situation becomes now that everybody's fighting for a birthright, or for the birthright, which is what we call birthright theft, when if everybody would just take their place, including modern Europeans, profess their nationality as well from their mom, all right, however far that goes back, then nobody would be molested. But because it's like reverse. It's only one race. That's the human race. Period. That's it. So it's not a racial divide. And so this is where the problem comes in. But we have to admit. Yeah. Well, we have to admit that. That's right there. Yeah. That's right. If that were the case, as Ms. mentioned, all right. Whether he wants to talk carbon or melanin, or there's another element also. There's a whole lot of things, and also biologically and the way the bodies are made and all that. We could go into all that. But as Ms. mentioned, when you read the Declaration of Independence, think about it. Why would you say all men are created equal? Apparently they weren't. But to come into the family and be treated fairly and justly is what it's all about. And that was at the hands of us, but many of us running around thinking that it was us that was, like slavery started with the European putting us in slavery, and if we could flip that, then we could get to the truth of it, and everybody could be peace with this.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So
now,
right.
This is why Prophet Noble Ali said we have an illustrious history. Now, looking at this, you might think, oh, God, we did horrendous things. Yeah, we did. We did some horrendous things, but we did some fantastic things.
Fantastic things as well.
The reason he said this was to get you. Well, what did we do? Because on this continent, we have been mentally conditioned to believe that as Moors, we did not a goddamn thing. We didn't add jack to society. We didn't add nothing. We just fell out the sky and been useless, lazy behind people from day one. That's not our history. So now you get a Prophet Noble Drew Ali coming along, and he says, Moors, you have an illustrious history. Really? That's a key. It means go and research. And because once you start researching the history of the Moors on this continent, it's going to take you all around the globe. It's going to take you everywhere. And, you know, just to add on to what Ross said about the modern Europeans and indentured servitude, this is part of the history of the brutish Moors that came over here, the Moors that was here as well. Because, see, this this whole war, you know, they talk about the Civil War as though, what exactly was the Civil War about? Nobody really, Moors, really, they don't teach this in these institutions, these mental conditioning institutions. They don't tell you the truth. So you got to try and take clues and go and do your own independent researching. What the hell was the Civil War about? These people came over here and was living good. Who was the Civil War with? It wasn't with modern Europeans, although in these mental conditioning institutions, they tell you, oh, well, it was between the red coats and the blue coats. Well, who the hell was the red coats and the blue coats? Because these people came over here with not a stitch on their back. That's right in their own declaration.
And you got to bring it back to the fact that really it was about the daughters, the European daughters, wanting to take the birthright. Because they felt like, one, they didn't want to be harems in the Moorish sons, concubines in the Moorish sons' harems anymore. That's a fact. Everybody knows this. And this activity really was from women. That's what the Daughters of the American Revolution is about. And we keep missing that. We keep missing that. We keep missing the science. We keep missing the biology. And we keep missing the truth of the history. And that's when you read CMA stuff when they started their union, what do they call it, the union, the white something union society. Well, you know what? They're talking about themselves, and the marriage license and all that stuff came from them wanting to put an end to them being subservient to the right. And now it's being reversed. It's crazy. You can do what you want to do, but just do it with knowledge. Don't try to force a birthright that doesn't belong, and therefore, like the guy that's in the chat room, that's the same guy. His babies are from a European mother, and he's trying to take the babies, whether she's a European mother or not. They're not his babies; they're hers, and the law will show that. It's international, national, and nature's law that the condition of the child is the condition of the mother, and the brother needs to accept that. And we all need to accept that. That's why it says that. Those are her babies. She came here with them eggs in her womb from birth.
And it is only natural for the grandmother to protect her grandchildren from becoming a plaintiff in error.
And thank you.
Look, that's what it's all about. This is not, it's no mystery, but I just want to clear up. I just want to finish with the whole indentured servitude things because, see, a lot of people, they came over here as indentured servants, so they're free. That was never, ever. That's why we got to study the history. They just said, y'all is indentured servants and y'all going to be free, but they had no intentions of making them free. We read that a couple of shows ago where they said, we'll make y'all free, but we had no intentions. It's right in the congressional record. We read it 2-3 shows
ago. Isn't that what
the
Treaty of Verona is really about?
Yes. And that all of that was supported by the Treaty of Verona, because in the Treaty of Verona it said we will never allow these slaves to be recognized as a nation, and anybody who participates in assisting them to do so, we will exterminate the whole family line. And that's why you got family fighting family, and that's why the prophet brought back and said, look, you Moors, I come to teach you to love instead of hate. And that's what it's all about.
Let me ask you this. Didn't that let me just say this, because this makes sense too. Didn't that Treaty of Verona actually, they wanted to not have a republic established, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, now hold on. This is good history, because the truth of the matter is that had to be established for them. We established that for them. And they're saying, now that's a good effort for them to bring them into the constitutional fold proper, right, and establish the republic for them. Our duty is to uphold the law as it is, uphold those established rules of law on our land. But it really had to happen to bring them in as to, you see? So it all fits in if you do the study. And so on.
Indeed. And I just wanted to add on, too, that the brother was saying, you know, Europeans have melanin and all of this here. And, you know, we're carbon-based. I have to agree. You know, we are carbon. We do have that aspect within us. It's natural. However, you know, on a grander scale, Europeans do not have enough melanin to sustain as Moors do. Excuse me. That's a natural fact. That's based in science and nature. That's not me just saying that. I didn't want to go too far back, but to add on, there is a distinguishment between us. They don't have as much melanin or copper in our skin, because copper is also an element that flows through our skin, which is the electromagnetic conductor. They don't have that. You know, they wish they did, and I understand why. But if they did, then why would they be up under electric lamps or in tanning salons trying to get the shades darker when this just happens to us naturally, specifically in the summer? You know, everybody, every Moor at least, you know, in the summertime when it gets hot and the sun is beaming and giving us that life wave, that life force, more life starts coming out of us, just like every other natural thing. You know what I mean? So we get more coats of or deeper melanated complexion. You know what I mean? Like the copper starts showing more. This does not happen with Europeans. That's a fact in nature. So you can't even get that. They take melanin pills and things of that nature, but it's not natural. They don't have a natural, and I just want to quote this before I yield the floor and you continue to go in. But we are not the same. There's a big difference between us. And an attestation to that, you can check out J.A. Rogers' Sex and Race, Volume 2, page 214. And the European is talking about the tropics. And he says, we Europeans, coming as we do from countries of moderate climate, decidedly do not belong in the tropics, and no European returns with unimpaired health after a prolonged residence there. 15 to 20 years. And how long we've been down there and all over the planet. So there is a difference between us. We are not the same. They don't have what we have, and we don't have what they have in certain aspects. So I definitely am into dealing with equality. I don't knock that principle at all. But you know what I mean? You can't tell me 2 is greater than 4. It's just not. It's not. You know what I'm saying?
And that leads to this, man. That leads to this.
Wait. We got another
Earth plane. Let me just say this. This is a quote that's in the Bible as well, on the Bibliothelia text in script. And it says, honor. You're talking about sustaining life on this earth plane and having those melanin, the carbon, etc. And it says, honor your mothers and fathers. so that your days on this earth plane will be lengthened. So there you go. But go ahead, Annie. You looks like you have something to add.
Oh my goodness, yes. There's some pandemonium going on in the chat room. All men came out of the womb, but into the womb from their fathers.
Bull, that is just so not true.
That was one comment, and then all men. Wait a minute, my computer's acting up. The first man, he was created by God, so he came through no womb as we would know it. LOL, dude, it's silly. They'd be like Adam had a belly button. None of the scriptures say Adam had a belly button. I know that's where they got they didn't see that in no Aboriginal indigenous depictions.
I don't understand what you just said.
Yeah, I don't understand the delivery.
All right.
It's a navel, okay, which is a navigating L you get cut from. To become a navigating L on the earth plane, you get cut from the navel. So what is he saying?
Well, no. First of all, he's implying that he came from his father's testicles, and from the testicles of the father was placed into the mother, and that in the Adam and Eve story, wait a minute. Hold on. He's saying that, he's talking about the Genesis chapter and how Adam was created first and then Eve, but the Genesis story is...
Nah, you can't even get that. Go to Genesis 1. You got to go to Genesis 1 before you go into Genesis 2.
Genesis 2, you got to
Genesis 126 to 131. Let's talk about that. Because that was the Creator created male and female.
Hold on, both of y'all are
talking at the same time. Wait a minute. What I'm trying to say, and then I'm going to open up the floor, is the brother is assuming that Genesis story is the beginning when it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, he's skipping Genesis 1 is what he's doing. He's going through the Bible. He's reading Genesis. He's going straight to Genesis 2 about Adam and Eve, which is the ATOM and evolution of it, and he's missing Genesis 1 like many people do. And, Ms., you can lay that out. That's what they do. They skip right over 1 and then go into 2.
Oh, wow.
And that one isn't. He's skipping 1. You can't get that off with Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve is from Genesis 2.
And then you correlate Genesis 126 through 31 with question 22 and 23 from the 101s to Prophet Noble Drew Ali telling us something with that. You know what I mean? He was telling us something with that. So,
let's break this down a little bit here. First of all,
okay, look, I just want to read this last portion.
Most people.
Yeah, we come into this reality and develop bodies through womb, but that is a stage that takes place after the father plants the seed. The semen comes from our brains and shoots down. Shoots down our spine. Okay. Shoots down our spines into the testicle, then into the woman.
Okay, that's electrical energy that he's talking about.
Hold on, they can fantasize about that. They can fantasize about that all they want. Reality is reality. There's no getting pregnant by themselves. Their eggs have no life in them until sperm enters it. But
that's not true. If he knew anything, what does he think they're talking about, which is coded when they talk about the Immaculate Conception? So they need to do a little bit more study. And what he's talking about is electrical energy. He just described the electrical energy, which is all that is needed for the egg is a spark of electrical energy. It does not have to necessarily come through the semen. So we're not going to even have that discussion. We're going to deal with facts. They mentioned Genesis 2. Now, we're talking about they all skip Genesis 1, which is in correlation, as Ms. was saying, with I believe 23 and 24 of the 101. The holy day is Friday. The holy day is Friday. Why? Because it's Friday is the day that man was formed in the flesh, and Friday is the day he departed from the flesh. Now, that is absolutely talking about the forming within the womb and the departing from your mother's womb, flesh. And Friday is Freya, Venus, the mother energy right there. So it's all in correlation, but everybody misses Genesis 1 and they go to 2 and they start talking about Adam and Eve. But, again, what he just said is electrical energy, and there's absolute history on the fact that women have been – now, he may be saying that women don't do that now. Well, not at the capacity that they ought to be at now. You know, behind the culture deprivation, behind the way in which we eat foods or you know, destroy ourselves with other toxic things. I didn't know if you wanted to add something else to the Genesis 1 thing, Miz, or we basically covered it.
Yeah, no, that's covered. Like, it is what it is. People go, you know, and miss that lesson because they go straight to Adam and Eve because they've been indoctrinated. That was one of the aspects to not keep people in the allodial thought of being connected to their Creator, even when they was trying to brand them or hit them with what they was calling Christianity, which really doesn't have, like, the origins of the Bible are not Christian. You need to know that as well. But they use that, and one of the things they try to omit or do omit for the most part is the emphasis on that if people really comprehended, even if they thought they was Christian, and they really comprehended Genesis 1:26 through 31. I mean, the whole thing, but 1:26 through 31, they will realize that their connection with the Creator is allodial. You don't need a middleman if you come from that. You know what I mean? So for the substitute gods and the vicars, that lesson right there, though it's right in the book, crumbles their reliability of people on them, opposed to, you know, people realizing, you know, your relationship with the Creator isn't solidified by going into any building. It's nothing wrong with fellowship and congregation, but that alone does not solidify your relationship with the Creator, whatever you want to call him or her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And man is a species, so, you know, and all species are determined by the female, not the male offspring of it. But let me just
but hold on, real quick before we go on. Correlate that back to the Declaration of Independence, when in there they was talking about all men are endowed by their Creator with unalienable rights.
Mm-hmm. Who's their Creator?
I mean? Yeah,
right.
So
very important.
But then on the as above, so below level, you have to give credence to your mother too, because she's the one that birthed you. See, like like if I could give my example on this, our jobs as sons, you know, we basically fertilize. Everything else is done within the womb. If the woman doesn't conceive, or if she does conceive and then builds, then that's the only way the child could be birthed, thus have birth rights. If the building plan of the body is aborted or abandoned or, you know, backed out of or whatever, there's no birth. So the point is that no matter how it's conceived, there's no way to get on this planet Earth without the womb. That's the level of respect in that conversation, if you will, because, you know, you can release fluid or whatever, but if it's not conceived and she doesn't transmute, like do the alchemical science that she's just wired to do, there's no discussion of birthrights. We wouldn't even be having this conversation. So these are counterparts, but one, I don't know, you can't leave out
Well, first of all, let's agree that
mother.
we're spirit man. Okay, everybody knows that. We come from the spirit. So I just want to read this from the book of John, which was not necessarily put in the Bible. And just a short ditty here. Basically, it's saying that the all, the omnipotent, which is what we call God, right? The everything, the all. And I'm just going to read this portion. It says, "For the perfect one," that's what it is. Because we would not know, we would not understand what is immeasurable were it not for one who has come from the Father and has told us these things. For the perfect one beholds itself in the light surrounding. Now, when we say Father, we're talking, they really look up what Father is. It's Pater, which is paternity, which is the process of creation. So now let's keep us at the spirit manifest, right? So for the perfect one beholds itself in the light surrounding it. This is the spring of the water of life that gives forth all the worlds of every kind. The perfect one gazes upon its own image, sees it in the spring and in the spring of the spirit, and falls in love with the luminous water. This is the spring of pure luminous water surrounding the perfect one. Its thought. So let's say that the brothers that's in the chat room is thinking that it's a man, male, all right, whatever. So that's its thought became active. And she who appeared in the presence of the Father in shining light came forth. She is the first power. She preceded everything, and she came forth from the mind. You know, Amanda's mind as the forethought of all. Her light resembles the Father's light as the perfect power. She is the image. She is the image. She is the image of the perfect and invisible virgin spirit, because that's what the Father, we say, is the spirit, and the virgin, pure, clear spirit. So she's the image of that perfect and invisible virgin spirit. She is the first power, the glory, the perfect glory among the worlds, the emerging glory. She glorified and praised the virgin spirit, for he had come forth through the spirit. She is the first thought, the image of the spirit. She became the universal womb, for she precedes everything. She is the common parent, the first humanity, the Holy Spirit, the triple L, the triple power, the androgynous one with three names, the eternal realm among the invisible beings, the first to come forth from the virgin spirit, which we call the Father, which is the process of all creation. Islam.
I don't mean to ask too much of you, but can you pull that piece that goes into the unshakable race, or you don't have that available?
Oh, that's what I was reading from.
Okay, I didn't hear you use that language.
This is a part of that. This is a part of that. Because now, check it out. Then now we have manifestation into the physical, right? Well, let me find the part that you want me to pull, because it took me a long time to get that. So I'm going to find that. I don't know if I have this in this portion, because this is the portion of it, the whole thing.
Yeah, not to slow up the show. My fault. I mean the broadcast.
Well, you know what? There was a question asked by this one person that seems to be quite confused about biology, regarding what you said. Why are you calling the spirit a woman first? Why are you calling a spirit a woman one? I guess first spirit when it was no gender.
Exactly.
I know you're gonna elaborate on that, but let me just say this.
Exactly.
Clearly, go ahead.
I just said it. That the first to manifest is the womb, because if it's no gender, he's absolutely correct. Male and female, or the masculine and feminine principles are absolutely necessary for anything to be created. That's why in your physical form, which is the lower, denser form, if you read chapter 1, and in this form, you have the process of the sexual energy, or any energy, anything, a battery has a neutron, you know, it has to have the polarity in order to happen. So the reason that that's being called is the point being made is that the all encompasses all. It is both the masculine and feminine. However, the manifestation, especially when you want to go to Genesis, which is the genes of Isis, which means the genes of the universal womb that creates everything is created from a womb, and that image is a she, because in the physical, the first man is a she, not a he. That's the point we're trying to make. Because without the womb, I don't give it. Your sperm don't mean jack. It just doesn't happen. And this is, I don't understand why people don't. I mean, I do understand why, because of the indoctrination. So that's why. So it's the problem. Right. This is what we have to understand. So the virgin spirit, that's all. But the image that was established, the manifestation in this human flesh, is what we're talking about, because we're standing in that. That's what we're talking about. Everyone says they come from the spirit. What is the spirit? It's for all. It's both masculine and feminine. But the manifestation that everything comes from, it comes from the womb. The image. If there was an image, that's what it looked like. It got breast and a womb. Because if you, my son, had a child, you don't have breast to feed it. You don't have a womb to have it. So this is logical stuff. We're talking absolute logical stuff when people think we're talking about this fight between mother and son. We're not.
Right now, because
that.
right, and I respect it. I get it. You know what I mean? Like the dark priesthood, if you want to call them that, has tried to remove y'all out of the picture for some generations now. Brothers, you got to relax. You know what I mean? The sisters are taking their place back because there's some of your mothers who are under this false impression. Some people who are listening, chatting in the chat room, you know, some of their mothers and uncles and aunts and grandparents really believed that their God was the Father, Son, and this invisible Holy Ghost. You know what I'm saying? That right there lets you know that the sisters have a fight for that, not just because they got to nitpick back and forth, but if priests are saying that, men who's supposed to be learned in the wisdom of God and whatnot are telling people that, you already know that it's a fight with the sisters and they just not trying to be played. But what I'll say is this. Facts, right? In biology, this is a fact. I was just talking about this with someone, but I'm just going to state these facts. Page 120 of Webster's Unabridged Dictionary. It's a definition here of autogenesis, and it says self-production, spontaneous generation. Autogenes means, or autogenes means self-produced, from autos, which means self, and genesis, which means origin of birth. The number one is self-engendered, self-produced, and arising spontaneously. And above that is autofecundation, which is Latin, and it means to make fruitful. In biology, it's the act of self-impregnation. Now, if you really want to get deep about it, you know, you cannot put certain limits on creators. You can't put limits on creators. Save a few. But what I'm saying is you have a lot of, explain this since we're talking biology, right? Plants do not have fleshy brains. They don't. They don't have limbs. They don't have any of that. But they have the ability to think and remember. That's just in plants. And some plants can reproduce via coition and entanglement with themselves. If plants have that ability, you know what I mean? And we are all told with different aspects and attributes of creation. You can't really say that, you know, the woman can't produce on the autogenesis level. You can't. Though there's certain energies and elements that may have to be in place and vibrations for that to happen, I personally don't think it's an impossibility. I know for a fact, as sons, we have the ability to contribute and speed up that process. In fact and indeed, nobody's here to debate the self-evident. That's self-evident. But what I'm saying is that when you're talking about a womb that created you and you don't even know how, you know what I'm saying? The head, the arms, the legs, you can't put limits on that. Now, I know this might be a nasty sight in the visual, but forgive me. There's certain women who produce the body of man with both reproductive organs. It's not something I ever want to see. I'm just saying that that's a documented fact in biology. If she has the ability to do that, what else does she have the ability to do? It's just you cannot, you know what I mean? Now, I don't want to go into the realm of speculation too much, but let's look at this. Every year, for Moors in the Northern Hemisphere, in the springtime, sometime usually like late April, May, around that time, sometimes June or whatnot, it's like the earth releases this substance that we call pollen. And the pollen is fertilizer for herself. So it's basically like the earth herself is having an orgasm to keep herself going, like or fertilize the things that exist within her. She has that ability. If we're supposed to be in the image of the universe and liking to that, you know, liking to suns and mothers liking to earths, etc., we cannot put circumscriptions on the possibilities of creation or the possibilities of man. I'm just saying. Now, please keep me clear. I know for a fact that, you know, the act of coition between male and woman or man and woman, definitely nobody can dispute that contributes. That's how we all got here. But it's still that element of creation where it's not an impossibility. You know what I mean?
No.
But then again, no finite mind can comprehend things infinite. So
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You gotta. I don't know. It's a lot. It goes deeper than what's generally being taught. So some people can't fathom that thought, but they can accept that they came from a Father, a Son, and a Holy Ghost. Well, who's the Holy Ghost? Where's in
Spirit?
You know what I mean? That's a lesson that has been ameliorated over the years, but it's a true fact. You know what I'm saying? So that's my piece on it. You know, in biology, it is an actual fact that the feminine energy has the ability to self-produce spontaneous. Granted, the conditions are right, because the earth does it with electrical stimulations, indeed, but she does it every year. You know what I mean? You come outside and your whole porch, your conveyance is all covered in pollen. That's the earth releasing that to fertilize herself. So there you go. As above, so below. And,
check this out now. I gotta add this in here. This is right in line. Now let's look what the womb, which some people refer to as Sophia. That's Pisces, the womb, and Barbello, depending on what your studies are. And the woman, she was so powerful that, remember, man is thought. She conceived the thought from herself, and the conception, the invisible spirit, and her foreknowledge. She wanted to bring forth a likeness out of herself without the consent of the spirit. So, sisters, wake up, and everybody in the chat room, here it is. Because of her strength, her thoughts were not idle. So, without the consent, which is in nature, and with the elements and everything being in sort, and the invisible spirit father creation, because that's what it means. And she was not in agreement, but her thought, where is this? Yet she brought forth, and because of this invisible power which is in her, her thought did not remain idle, and something came out of her. This is why they say, my son. Listen up closely. Mason, my son. Something came out of her which was considered imperfect and different from her appearance because she had created it without the consent. And it was dissimilar to the likeness of its mother, for it has another form. Listen up. It's not to hurt nobody. This is the truth. And when she saw the consequences of her desire, sisters, when she saw the consequences of her desire, it changed into a form of different forms. Now, let me skip, because you can read this yourself. We have it on the site. Now, check this out. Not because he had seen the indestructible one, but the power in him, which he had taken from his mother, produced in him the likeness of the cosmos. And when he saw the creation which surrounds him and the multitude of the angels around him which had come forth from him, he said to them, he said to the angels, or as they say, angels, which is angels of light. That's what he said. And this is where the Bible begins. He said, I, this is her son now. He said, I am a jealous God, and there is no other God beside me. Now who? What? Look, but by announcing this, he indicated to the angels who was attending to his ass, it doesn't say his ass, who was attending to him, that there exists another God. For if there were no other one, of whom would he be jealous? All right? Then the mother began to move to and fro. She became aware of the deficiency when the brightness of her light diminished. Just from him saying that, it diminished her light. Because, see, the problem is he didn't have respect for who his mother was. And she began dark. She became dark because because the spirit, the virgin spirit, had not agreed with her in the first place for doing this shit. Let's get it right. And then John said, he said, what does it mean that she moved to and fro? And he said, don't think that it is as Moses said, above the waters. No. When she had seen what she had done and the theft which her son had committed, she repented. And she was overcome by forgetfulness in the darkness of ignorance. And she began to be ashamed. And she did not dare to return, but she was moving about. And the moving is the going to and fro. And the arrogant one took a power from his mother, for he was ignorant, thinking that there existed no other except his mother alone when he saw the image of her. And when he saw the multitude of the angels which he had created, then he exalted himself above all. And when the mother recognized that the garment of darkness wasn't perfect, and that she had not had agreement with what she had already done, she repented with much weeping. And the whole pleroma heard the prayer of her repentance. And they praised on her behalf the invisible virginal spirit. And he consented, we're talking about the invisible to all now, consented, and when the invisible spirit had consented, the Holy Spirit poured over her from the whole pleroma. For it was not her, the agreement or their concert who had came to her, but he came to her through the pleroma in order that he might correct the deficiencies that she has now done by the physical manifestation. Now hear it out. And she was taken without order. That's what sisters do today. They don't understand the elements of the cosmos and bringing children in. They just lay there and have a damn child, and the child comes in all messed up because the angles of light, or angels as you call it, which is really angles of light energy, has not even been considered with the sun and the moon and the creation here in this physical. So she was taken up. Now, mothers, sisters, let me tell you where you are right now, in case you really want to know. You were taken up, but not to where you belong, but you were taken up just above your son to what's called the ninth heaven. And that's why it takes 9 silver months for you to create the babies. until the what is lacking in you is corrected, because it's not him, it's you that was lacking to even go out of order with nature, because that's what this is all coded for. So now, as we're talking now, they're taking advantage of our lack and advantage of the arrogance of the being which is considered the son, or what she manifested, who had no respect and honor for her and thought that it's about him. Oh, I'm a jealous God, had no other one before me. Which doesn't even make a lot of sense, but that's the arrogance and the ignorance. And that's what we're listening to in this chat room with these brothers right now talking that crap. Okay, she made you on her own out of the virgin spirit, which is the process of creation. Your ass came, and then you took. And what you do is, because you have the light from the virgin spirit or for your mother, when you go around people who don't have light, I'm going to tell you what you do, sons, and this is what you thrive with, and you need to get it straight. You go around people who have no damn light. Just because you got some light from your mother, you brighten them, because they don't got no light anyway. But here's what really goes down. When you come around people with your half light, because that's what you got, the light from your mom, but you don't have it all. You don't, because if you did, you'd have a breast and a womb, all right? When you go around people who have light, guess what you do to them? You dim them. And that's what you do, going to and fro in this earth, dimming those who have brightening those who have no light at all, so they think, oh, yeah, you're the God, you're it. And then dimming the light of people who have full light, who are here with full light. You dim them. So this is what happens. You go around, this is what happens. So then let me just tie this thing up here.
Islam.
And, yes.
Okay.
Let me just tie this one thing up, and then we can speak and hold the thought. Now let's get to the place where you, the creation, like Nabbit, decided to create, and you, with the authorities that attended you, that you had, he the man, said what? Said what? Because we're taking it to the Bible, which is, see, what we're talking about is as above, so below. This shit happens in heaven, which is the haven of the mind first. See, heaven is not a place. It is the haven of mind. Why is it the haven of mind? Because man is mind, that's why. So it's where your mind state is, and yours has been indoctrinated, infiltrated, and you have dishonor, and you need to gain a greater respect for womanhood. That's what you need to do, all right? Because it says here, let's take it. It says, what did he say then? Come, let us create a man according to the image of God and according to our likeness. That was Seth's problem, our likeness, that his image may become a light for us. And they created by means of their respective powers and corresponded with the characteristics which were given. And that's where Adam comes from, dagnabbit. You got to understand it's as above, so below. And you guys and sisters, too, are out there talking about the creation and the beginning when it starts with ATOM, the atom, and the evolution of the atom. And let me just tie this up a little bit more, so you can understand the limitations you have if you're not going beyond the bibliotheliotech that you call the Bible and the indoctrination that Muslim churches is giving you, telling you the man, all right? Because you're not. You're the son of man. That's who you are, and you need to respect that, because then what do? You decide you're going to create, and guess what happened? There was no life in what you created. You put the arms and the legs and the this and the that. And then somebody came from the eons, because the mother's trying to correct this. She's trying to correct it, like, listen, Ma, you can't go home. You ain't going to have no peace. There ain't going to be peace on this planet. Ain't going to be no peace in this world until women get this straight. And she corrects her deficiency, thereby correcting everybody that comes out of her womb. All right? So you get this body. It won't move. You can't get life in it. This is Adam and Eve, Genesis 2, babe. This is what we're talking now. That ain't yours, okay? You're creating something. So someone whispers, You know, the whisperer, Nakash, the whisperer as they call it, the devil whispered as they call it, the snake whispered as they call it, whatever you want to call it. Says, yo, bro, why don't you breathe the light that your mama gave you into this being that you just created, and I bet you it'll come to life. And so he breathed the light into it, and it came to life. And then he was pissed off because he lost that light. And when he lost that light, he blamed his mother. Remember? They blamed, the destruction of man is because of Eve. You know, that's what they say. But that's what happened. And he's been on a rampage every damn since. So then they started creating and devising plans. Now you read in the Bible, you know, the burning bush and the sword that's around it to keep from the secrets of life, man, which is really the tree of life is when you're hanging in your mother's womb. If you look at how that looks, it looks like a bud hanging off of the daggone is really off of the uterus. The secrets of life. That's what they were protecting from, and it became situation, and that's where you have, I'm a jealous God, and also let us create man in our image, and then, it's not moving, it's not breathing, breathe some life into it, and then you took the light that your mama had, that you was dimming some people with no light, dimming people who had light and bringing light to others, making you even more arrogant, because you still didn't have the greater respect for your mother, and then you lost the light. And that's what you got now. You are not going to create jack nothing. You ain't feeding nothing that comes out. It's not going to happen, son. It's not. So, sisters, wake up. And don't allow this non-natural, non-matrix order that has been indoctrinated to destroy you first, which means it destroys everything else that comes out of your womb. Don't do that. You are in the ninth heaven, just above your children, so that you can correct all deficiencies, sisters. So start correcting Islam.
Islam. And just to add on to what you're saying, how it's a cosmological story as well on the as above, so below level. When you was talking about the sun's coming around and giving light to those that don't have it, and then dimming light of those who do. That is talking about the universal constellations in the SUN sun, and the true living mother being in the ninth heaven just above her son. She, quote unquote, tried to hide in the cloud type of thing, because the sun is in the sky. When the sun comes around, like when it's daytime, you don't see the stars in the sky. That's the dimming of the light of those who have it. When it sets, then you see those lights in the firmament again. So that story also correlates to cosmological aspects. It is a as above, so below story. You know what I mean? As well. And I just wanted to add that on, to pull out that they're talking cosmology, astrology as well within that. Because no planetary body shines like the sun. It's just not one, though they all have their function. So that light is like, you holding the candlestick to the sunlight. You know what I mean? It's not even going to look or appear as though it has any relevance in broad day. Though, respect to those who do the candle thing or whatever. But when you're talking about that, and when you're talking about Genesis and things of that nature, even in chapter 1 of the Circle 7, they all correlate to the fact that we have a connection to this universe. You know what I mean? And then going back to the beginning, for those sons who have that jealousy and just, I want to be the one, the chief, all of this, that goes back to putting a circle around your passions and learning that, you know what I mean? Everybody can shine together. So it is what it is.
But that's also why they skip Genesis 1, because Genesis 1 is the perfect manifestation, speaking of from spirit man into the flesh, blah, 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 like that. And they go straight to this other creation, man. This is why they do that. And you say it 1,000 times, you can't go to 2 without, why are y'all missing 1?
Yeah. And
I hope I explained it, because it says, the cosmos is in enlightenment, that's for sure.
Indeed, that's the firmament. So even when you look at Genesis 1, and it's explaining these 7 days of creation, which are cosmological,
yes,
you can't just look at that and just take that on face value either. I strongly suggest for all those who do not have, please acquire the book, Light of Egypt, Volume 1. Not Egypt, the light of the world. I'm talking about the Light of Egypt, Volume 1. Asiatics, get your science back. You know what I'm saying? Because in there, it goes into the days and nights of Brahma, which are cosmological periods you can't even fathom. We can't even exist in one experience in this same flesh for that amount of time that they were cosmologically speaking of. When you look in the Bible and they say, the Creator did this in 7 days, you have to understand it wasn't necessarily a period of 24 hours.
Right.
It was a process of creation and evolution. But the days and nights of Brahm will explain that further. Look in your the Light of Egypt book. Look at the yogas, the yugas, the Tretya Yug, the Satya Yug, the Vipara Yug, things of that nature. And then you'll see these were cosmologists. These were master astrologers that were speaking on these days in this process of creation. So it goes deep. This is why it is a divine and national movement in many aspects, because it's really Asiatic culture codified. You know what I mean? We have to give lessons to ameliorate understanding. But to supplement what you read on the face, again, I suggest the book, The Light of Egypt, Volume 1.
Now, this is interesting, because, we're on this subject, man. We can't always have this combative, I guess, because people don't really believe, or they say, but they don't really accept that they're spirit and that man is mind. They don't. So when we're talking on this level, as above, so below, you got to go as above to get to so below, and many do not do that. Matter of fact, if all you're doing is, again, I'm going to reiterate it, dealing with Genesis 2, which is about that which was created later, all right, and needed perfecting, which still is to this point today, then you're not dealing with the spirit man. You're not doing it. So, and another thing that just hit me that I just read, family is family. And family is family, man. And so this whole thing is, like you just said, she hid it in the clouds. Now you're talking about the sun, right, and put a throne on it. We're talking beyond that. Y'all want to talk about the cosmos and the black hole and, all these other things. We'll get into it and really do the study on that. And, answering the brother from the beginning, you're right. It's all energy. So, and to put a cloud on it so no one might see it except the Holy Spirit, who is called the mother of the living, and called this son, and y'all can look this up, Yaldabaoth. I don't even like to say the name. Sometimes it's spelled Yaldabaoth. Now, this is the first archon who took great power from his mother, and he removed himself from her and moved away from the places in which he was born. Oh, my goodness. How about that? That's what these are doing all day long, removing themselves from their birthright, removing themselves. Like the guy that we started this show, he's a nation of North Carolina. That's great arrogance and ignorance. And we could tie this all right back into what we're doing today. But he did become strong with that, and he created for himself other eons with the flame of luminous fire, which still exists now. Now, I'd like to say in my comment, people talk about, are there life on other planets? Then there's these funny-looking creatures. Well, if you got somebody who's a subordinate scientist all right, that don't have all right, because they're arrogant and ignorant, trying to create shit. There may be some funny-looking stuff on other planets. That's what I think, because I'm serious. You know, like, really, 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 you take yourself back to the spirit, then you're right. It's both male and female, the male and female principles, the yin and the yang, you know what I mean? The all, no gender, because it's all one. That's what you're all going for, the all, Allah, all law. That's the point. So, and then, and he joined with his arrogance, which is in him, and he begot authorities for himself. So this separating from family is separating from your birthright. And it's interesting because there's 7. It's interesting because it's a copy of the real, or the copy of the realm is what was established by that. So, that's all, because I don't want to get into it, because Ms. had mentioned the 7th, and there is 7, and that's why it says, look, there's only 7. It's the circle 7, you know. But I think that the other part that Ms. you had asked me about, I got to place it, because it's just the fact that the Spirit said that's come down to heaven 3 times. And the first time that this indestructible Spirit came down, it hurried and went back so that it wouldn't destroy Earth, because it was not understood. But the last time he came, and I got to find it, but I'm going to try to paraphrase it as I understand it, although I need to find it. Somebody, now y'all listen to this now. Somebody heard that was trapped, said, who is that calling my name? And when this indestructible Spirit heard that one person, just one, recognized, he sealed them with 5 seals in the what? Illuminous water. What is the illuminous water but the womb that you come from? You know what the 5 seals are, huh?
Yeah, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. But I recall the reason why they were sealed with 5 seals in the luminous water was so that death would not prevail from that moment on. That's why they sealed them. So I'm like, when you look at that, and that, reading that with the open mind, knowing that these are metaphors or analogies, that, you know, the concept of being civil liter mortus, you know, the 5 principles eradicate that mentality. You understand what I'm saying? Like, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice are the exact opposite of civil liter mortus, or even being dead in the eyes of the law. So when it said sealed them in the luminous waters, and as you emphasized many times, that the water represents knowledge.
Yes.
I saw it like that, and I took it like that. And from that moment, I think the first time I read that was like in 2011. Said, all right, you know what I mean? I have to be about the Creator's will. That like gut checked me. You know what I'm saying? When I read that, I just wanted to emphasize that. No, for real, because that was the whole point. It said seal them with 5 seals, so that death may not prevail from that moment on. And I'm like, all right, I understand we're not the body or the flesh, so I'm going to inscribe this in my spirit and in my life, so that this right here, you know what I mean, it just emanates throughout life. You know what I mean?
I really want to add one more thing to this, and then you can open up the or do whatever you want to do next. But just to cap this, so that we can show these people who want to refer to the biblioteletext or the Bible, you know, skipping Genesis 1, as we have said before, and we'll say again. Also in Psalms 8, is it? Verse 16?
Verse 4.
Verse 4. This is a very short reading. This should bring home what we're trying to say right now when we say that man is mine, and the first physical image is the womb, because the womb, everything comes from the womb, and you don't have that, son. All right? And I just explained it. But lastly, to cap this whole thing up is Psalms 8, verse 4. Listen carefully. And chat room, stop chatting and listen. It says, what is man that thou art mindful of him? Question. And the Son of Man that thou visit him. Islam.
Islam. Yes. I want to open up the chat. I'm sorry, not the chat. I want to open up and start taking some callers. We got about 50 minutes to take calls. But before I go into this, I just want to say this. We got some fantastic Chapter 2 sons out there. I want to say it again. We got some fantastic Chapter 2 sons out there. And we got some sisters that is awake. And I just would like for people who are listening, look, this killer broadcast actually demonstrates why we are a nation divided. This whole session demonstrates why we are a nation divided. Why?
Right.
Look, there's a saying that a nation can't rise higher than its women. And if the women are submitting themselves to the son, that's in reverse. That means that we're not going to be able to rise, and any son or mother that is out there with that type of a reversal relationship going on, it's not going to continue. We are so moving into a millennium where all wrongs must be righted. That is so absolutely real. Now, and Eve speaking this now, Roz, Ms. Cujo, nobody. That is what has been prophesied. That's what's been going down for a number of years. All right? So everybody, if there are those out there that's functioning from, oh, well, this is my personal preference, you're going down. I'm not saying it for me.
I'm glad you said that.
I'm saying it that the universe is going to take you and anyone who falls under that mental spell and refuse to let it go. You're going down.
And Ms., I see you have a comment, and I do have one more comment to make as well. So I didn't want to cut you, Ms., but I just have one more comment from the Book of John to bring this thing home. So let me just say that, and then Ms., you can make your comment. They talk about the voice of God, and I've heard the voice of God came down and all that. So it says the voice came from the heaven, from the exalted heaven, and the voice said, "Oh, the man exists and the Son of Man." Now, some people will read that and says humanity exists and the child of humanity. Okay, because we got to understand this. Now, right, because he thought this voice came from his mother, and he did not know from where it came. He didn't know, and he taught the holy and perfect mother, father, the complete foreknowledge, the image of the invisible one, who is the Father of the all, and through which is the mother, father of them all, through whom everything came into being, the first man. For he revealed his likeness in a human form. And that is what we earlier on in the John, it says the image of it is a woman. She's got a breast and a womb. It's the womb. And then there was the child. So that's man, and then the Son of Man, as I explained earlier. I just wanted to add that as well, because they read that in the Bible. It says man and the Son of Man. Even Jesus, they say, he says, look, I'm just doing the Father's work. He says, I'm son of man. I'm son of man. The problem is we don't know who man is. We know man is mine now, and the image of man is she, the womb. And then came the other creation out of order. All right,
well,
I apologize. That's all I got to add.
Yeah, and I just want to add this before we hear from the people. I really want to hear from the people as well. But I just wanted to say, with this whole concept of being a nation divided, and I think that in the beginning, this brother was a little agitated because he has amalgamated with the pale-skinned nations of Europe.
Yes.
It feels credible to try to substantiate that. But what I'm saying is that prevention is way better than cure. And I'm not saying this just because the Prophet Noble Drew Ali said it, but if you really take heed to why he said that, a lot of these different discrepancies wouldn't even be conversations on the table, because he said, as a pure and clean nation, we do not wish to amalgamate with the pale-skinned nations of Europe. We wouldn't even be having feelings about that if we really understood why he said that. And with that, I yield the floor. Islam.
Yes. All right, we're going to take our first caller, caller 267-521. You are live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest Maximum. And just be mindful, we got about 45 minutes.
All right.
Islam, caller 267-521.
Islam.
No, brother, I said.
Islam. Yes, it's Asim Bey. I'm sorry, caught me off guard there.
You didn't press one? You showing up in the queue?
Well, I'm happy I did. Well, we were sitting here listening to the show, and it was a wonderful show. Am I getting a lot of feedback?
No.
Okay, it was a wonderful show, and it was all in the air because we've been having. Well, first of all, is Asim Bey. I want to say Islam to Mother Annie Eve, Rise, Brother Miz, and I didn't know if Cujo was on the show because we came in on the show a little late. But just to give honor, thank God, because that was great. And I know where it can cause a lot of confusion is because when I first became conscious and we were talking to some brothers of old, and that thing about the mother and son, and we was having some deep conversation about where do blood show up in the sperm. Back in the day, brothers used to say that's my seed. It was just words that you used to use. Now, when you look at it, and you really start to understand, it was just some ignorance that we were talking, and it was the way that we were taught, and we were understanding things. Because, like you say, it's only the mother and the son. That's it. We was having a conversation earlier about the Black Madonna and the son, and who worship it, who bows down and worships that image every day, and pray to the Madonna and holding the son. So when you start changing and learning and correcting those concepts and really, really, really start understanding this mother thing, and really get back on track, and a lot of brothers were blaming themselves. I wouldn't use the word blame. But when we get into that history, it's only the mothers that can fix this thing. It's only the mother that can fix this thing. So, and to them, we all have to do our part as sons to understand that and be sons and be protectors and grow up. And grow up, brothers. You know, I'm one brother that want to sit and talk about this here thing with any brother that want to talk about it, man. We got to grow up, and we got to understand, you know, that position of the mother, this plight that we in as a people and as a nation, and rebuilding this thing, you know, and to then, it's just going to be a struggle. I don't want to use words that is not going to happen because it got to happen. It got to happen willingly or unwillingly.
It's already a done deal if you read the prophet's words.
So for us who's becoming conscious, you know, let's be a part of this thing and do it willingly. So just that y'all doing a great job, and that this topic was just in the air.
It's all in the air. It's all on your mind. If it's all on your mind, it's all in the air, right? That's what Erica.
That's right.
Said. Yeah.
And who better to bring it than you guys? Because you guys be bringing it week in and week out. I love you for it. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, on a side note, before you go, I just mailed something to you, a package to you, and a letter is in it as well to you and your family. And another package will be coming, but you should get that. I just mailed it actually today, believe it or not, or yesterday, and it's priority, so you should have it.
Oh, I really appreciate it. Oh, we have some stories to tell about some of the things, us being active in some of the things that happen out there. One of them is how we got on the, and I don't want to take away from the topic tonight, but it was just funny how we was red flagged for and refused. We was flagged and they used the word red and refused travel to leave to leave this continent to go to some of the islands here. So I'll be calling you guys, talking to you about it. It's really something what's going on.
Well, we need to talk about that. Yeah. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe we could talk to him early tomorrow and do the Wednesday broadcast because we won't be at New York tomorrow. We'll be there the 13th. Abdullah Bay will be there on the 13th because we're only doing like 2 weeks or whatever. So maybe if we talk to you earlier tomorrow, we can discuss that and maybe have it on tomorrow's broadcast. Not a bad idea. What do you think, Jimmy? Yeah, let's do that. All right.
That's what I'll do.
All right.
All right. Islam, peace and love.
All right, Islam.
Peace and love.
All right, caller 972-839. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest Maxim.
Islam.
All
praise. Islam. Good to hear from you, family. Once again, I'll be listening if you don't hear my voice.
Good to hear from you. Good to hear from you. We haven't heard you in a minute.
Oh, praise. Thank you so much. First of all, I'd like to say, give honor and praise to Allah, and I love to give my special honor and thanks and praises to Anna Need and to you, Miss Ram. I know it's your show, Miss Ram, but Roz Mirage, women versions, that's typically what the show is about tonight, because we are...
Yeah, hold on, my fault. I don't want to cut your wisdom. But if I just heard you right, you said this is my show. I just want to say that's not true.
No, that's y'all show.
Our show. Like, this is a broadcast.
Yeah, that means more than one. Y'all show. No, I just say how, let out my mind, because I'm not on the show. I'm just speaking right now. Anyway, let me continue because y'all have a shorter time. I would like to read a little quote real quick. These younger civilizations, meaning now, tend to fall into the typical era of the young, that is, of gradually adopting an attitude of derision toward the accomplishment of the civilization forebear of Africa. In effect, they said they severed the umbilical cord in that connection to Africa high culture and gave them birth. And we know a son don't give birth. They expropriate the umbilical signs of Africa, suppress and ridicule her rich spiritual life, and in the process bury the key to their own origin. And then I heard about Adam and Eve not too long before I shut it down. It said, who is Adam and Eve? They are, and this coming from the one-on-one, who are Adam and Eve? They are the mother and fathers of the human family, Asiatics and modern. Where did they go? They went into Asia. What is the modern name for Asia today? We know, if you can say, study to show yourself approved. Who is the modern name? What is the modern name given to the children? Asiatics. So therefore, we are learning. We must study to show ourselves approved. That when we study what Noble Drew Ali prescribed us to do, not as something that is thought of to do, but something that is required to do, because it's just like the so-called ID, identification card, driver's license that some people carry. It is the identification of who you are by not only reflecting at that symbol, but known imperially and progressively that is you, and you can walk, not only talk, in the way Islam.
Islam.
So,
all right. Thank you so much for that.
Islam.
All right, Islam. All right, caller 803-290. You are live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest Maxim.
Hello?
Yes.
Oh, I was just listening. I'll make sure I was online. My phone be jumping in. So this talk drill, and I'm just listening right now because I'm in the middle of this, so my phone's going in and out.
All right, no problem.
All right, man.
All right, peace and love. All right, we got Brother Bakari. Islam.
Islam. Thank you for that. No, thank you, guys, for this wonderful show this evening. Honor to the panel. And I wanted to ask a question. First of all, I just wanted to say that I agree with everything that you guys have put out this evening. And it's not because I love you. It's because I have done a little bit of study. And it's also some of the things that I have been thinking about for some time. Some time before I proclaimed and declared my nationality. My question is about the sun. When I say the sun, I'm not referring to the masculine, predominantly masculine representation of man. I'm referring to what we see in the sky. If Mother Earth is feminine, and the sun also gives us life, could the sun also be considered as feminine?
Well, I think you gotta have everything. Everything has the duality in it, if you will. But its sole function is masculine. Like the energy it gives off is completely masculine. It's a masculine planetary body. But there's an essence, I would say, there has to be an essence of femininity in it for one reason, that everything in creation was created with the feminine principle. Not to say it's not what you see out here today with sons being feminine. I'm talking about the energy itself, the ability to give and receive. I think that you can put your thoughts or correlate your thoughts and plant them on different planets, but I don't think you could go plant a seed on the solar sun. So I don't know. That's just my take on it. Its sole function is indisputably outgoing, thus electrical and masculine. The earth is incoming and produces out, so it has both. But the stimulation of the masculine energy is what stimulates the earth also to create. So that's my take on it. In short, Islam.
And that is it.
That's interesting. That's interesting because, like we said, it's the masculine and feminine. So now you got the sun that you're talking about, which is absolutely masculine, and you got the moon. And so we're under the sun and the moon. This is the temple of the sun and the moon. And all things are created, even with that masculine outgoing energy. When you plant stuff, it doesn't just grow by the sun; it grows by the moon as well.
Right. It's electromagnetism, meaning electromagnetism is masculine and feminine at the same time. Because magnetism is more of a feminine energy and electricity is more of a masculine energy. So that principle is always working together in the universe. That just is what it is, for sure.
So, okay, now just a quick follow-up. So now the crescent and the star in the crescent, is that, I was having a discussion with a Moor a couple of days ago, and the question was, is the star a representation of the sun, or is it some other body in the heavens?
It could be just, you don't even have to put a species on it, just the mother and child. You could say man, son, you could say woman, etc., but it's really the woman and child. And going back to correlating what the brother was calling in earlier about Brother Asim on them praying to the Moorish Madonna, like when you see the crescent moon and star, and you see how the so-called Madonna's arm is cradled, it's the same exact symbology. You know what I mean? It's the crescent moon. The arm is basically the crescent moon, and the child inner arm is the star, the 5-pointed star. So it depends on what level you want to recognize it on, but basically it's the mother and child. And you could even go far as to say, it is two mothers. You could say the moon being the supreme magnetic visible mother, and Venus her, underling, if you will. That's perspective though. So I yield the floor with that. Because Venus and the moon are both feminine energies and magnetic in their nature. So that's just my take. Islam.
Well, thank you for those two questions, Nina. That's quite interesting to think about for further thought. We got two more callers, and we got about, we got about 25, really 20 minutes. So our next caller is caller 412-966.
Islam. My name is Lena Webb. Islam. I'm Lena Bay, Northwest Arkansas. I'm just learning. I was trying to explain to people and my daughter, I have been through almost 60 years of indoctrination. So it's hard for me to explain to people why it's so difficult for me to make changes, because I have been through all those names, colored, Negro, black, Afro-American, African-American, and I always knew that there was something not quite right about the way things were done. As a matter of fact, I was a part of the segregation integration programs where I was taken out of my neighborhood school and sent to another school system, and me and two of my brothers and sisters were the only Moors in the entire school, and we really caught it. How do I explain that I'm not trying to learn, but it's just taken me some time to change an indoctrination that has been instilled in me for so many years, even though I knew what was going on was not quite right, that there was obviously something very, very, very wrong.
Well,
so that's my
what
question.
What I would say is, because we all are suffering under mental conditioning. So some of us have been at it longer than others, but the remedy is the same for everybody, and that's just to study. Really, that's all there is, because and it's a continuous study, because there's no way to reach into the mind except through study. There's no other way. Nobody can come and do it for you. And you got to do it at your pace. Don't let nobody scare you or force you into, anything. Research everything. Take nothing for granted. And I think that...
And mostly that's what I do. I do a lot of research. My thing is I'm more analytical. I like to research every part of it. I want to know the history of being a Moor, what it means to actually be a Moor, and then go into the science and the laws of being a Moor. But trying to cram it all in together, it gets a little frustrating at times. And I just want to, do I have to is there a certain step that I need to take? My thing right now is the history of being a Moor, what it means to be a Moor.
Well, you know what it means. You know what it is? If you go into a dictionary, right, and it'll tell you, and you look up Moor, it tells you those who we have now nicknamed Negroes. So now with that thought right there, all you're really saying is whether you recognize yourself as the Negro or as the Moor, the one thing we can all collectively know is that we have lacked the knowledge about our own heritage history. You see what I'm saying? So, So don't separate the two, but be distinctive with it, because that's the first thing that was shown to me basically, and that I showed to others. Oh, what's a Moor? What's a Moor? What is that? First navigator, right? Aboriginal indigenous people. And when you look at that definition, it says, oh, yeah, they're the ones that we have now nicknamed Negro. And if you were thinking you were a Negro, so what we realize is that it's just about knowing who we are. It's not like you can't do the history, even if you thought you was a Negro, without going into the fact that you are, in fact, a Moor. It's not possible. It's not right. That's why it says, guess what? Come hear the truth about your nationality and your birthright. You are not Negroes, colored, and black. Those are coins that were branded upon you from 1774. And then when you do the study, you'll find that sentence that I just said to be absolutely the truth.
And that's what I've been doing. I've been doing a lot of studying, but my studying is different than a lot of people, because I pick everything apart. I question everything. I don't allow anyone to just say, well, this is what it is. This is what it has to be. You have to do it this way. You got to do it that way. I watch a lot of videos, and I've learned a lot through your show, listening to your program, and it's helped me out a lot of things and helps me to understand a lot of things. And my daughter, Energy L, she's the one that opened up my eyes. surprisingly, my daughter, my child, had to open my eyes. To the truth of things. So, but as long as I'm doing it okay, I know that I am a Moor. I'm just finally glad to know what it is, because I knew that there was something wrong, and I just knew it. I just knew it. And knowing that I am a Moor and the illustrious history that we do have, yeah, I'm proud. I'm proud to say that I'm a Moor.
Right. It's a lot better than the children coming up thinking they have contributed nothing to society or to life at all, because that's what they indoctrinated us to believe, that we were peeled off the walls as slaves, right, or whatever like that. It came over here on slave boats and all that kind of stuff, right? So then when you find this information, you say, oh, wait a minute. You know, like, you know, what's going on?
It's like everything is becoming clear. Things are starting to make more sense to me. On the questions I had when I was younger. It makes a lot of sense. So I'm not fighting it. It's just that I want to make sure that I'm doing it in the right way and making sure that there's not one special order that I use to study.
Well,
that's what we do.
Yeah. Follow the dictates of your soul on that. Just follow the dictates of your soul. That's all that you really can do.
Yeah, indeed.
Just take your time and do the studying. Take nothing for granted. I don't care if Noble Ali came down or just manifested in front of you and started telling you this is your history. You got to go do the research anyways. Because you got to know. As long as somebody is telling you, you're in the land of what I call you're in the land of belief. But once you go do the research and you know, that's a whole different vibration, and that's where we need to be. If more people did proper studying and came out of the land of belief into the land of knowing, we would have less problems.
Well, I do a lot of studying. I mean, I study, and then I go back and study some more. I watch a lot of videos. I study from every day. I mean, I study everywhere and everything. Books, encyclopedias, online encyclopedias. I run across different things when I have a question about the Moroccans. I go and study that because I've got to know the true history of everything. And that's helping me to understand it. And why I said I have a pride knowing that I am a Moor, that I can finally say that my nationality is a Moor. Where some people say, I'm Italian, I'm Irish, I'm Scottish. I can now say I am a Moor. And it feels good.
Well,
really
that's
good.
interesting because earlier in the show, when Annie first came in, and we were talking about the modern Europeans, and you just mentioned Irish, it's not about a prejudice thing. It's time for everyone to confess their oath. And so these European daughters, that even those that our sons may be mating with and having, they're having children, they have to confess their own too. But what occurred is they're coming over saying they're Americans. They're not. That's all. I mean, even in your, like you said, you've been through all of those things. Negro, call it black, coon, whatever, and in that, even in them telling us about their history, not ours, they admit that they came over from somewhere else. So we got to get to thinking on that and not allowing them to take that which is ours to say that they are something that they're not. They need to confess their nationality too, which comes from their mother. So you have to do the same thing. But the difference or a distinction of fact is that we, as the first navigators on the planet, in that respect, being cut from the navel, becoming navigating elves, are the mothers and fathers of civilization on the planet. And then we did, in fact, would take our DNA and do splicing in the laboratories and everything and create something else. And the fight has been on ever since because all that lives wants to live. So it's not that the European or whatever their nationality is, or European descent, or modern European descent, doesn't have rights. It's just that stealing the birthright and saying that, oh, we're going to establish this fiction and call it North Carolina or New Jersey or whatever it is, and you're going to do what we say. Then we get into the jurisdiction thing, and as soon as we get into coming under their jurisdiction of their codes, policies, and their intent, then we have absolutely abandoned our own birthright. But we do so by not having knowledge of what it is, and that's why the study is necessary. And so as you study, you'll find that you are simply descendants of the mothers and fathers of civilization who taught civilization principles, taught these modern Europeans how to read, write, and do arithmetic. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? And then some people get upset about that and get their emotions in it, and that's what we have to eliminate. Once you get the truth, it should bring peace. That's why it's love, and then it's truth, and then that truth brings you peace. So it's just like what you deal with. You know, they could be acting all whatever, but as soon as you find the truth about, you know, really what their problem is or what their situation is or are able to evaluate, then you deal with them differently because you already know that they're just dealing with things in their own way, and they're never going to see things in a certain way. So it's the same way with us getting this knowledge. We can't put hate with hate. Two wrongs don't make a right. You know, we're the ones who actually birthed them into a servant and slave position from the get-go. And now they got us believing that it was them that did that with us or whatever like that. And it's just not true. So now when you find out, you can't be mad. And a lot of people get mad and get emotional, and that's why I put in a circle around your passions and squaring up the conduct on this information is important, and to always speak in intelligent tone. But if you add the emotions in it, because you realize you've been lied to, you know, and all the suffering, sister, that you may have seen or gone through yourself or seen other people go through, and we see it too, you know, it makes you, you know, it can make people feel kind of angry, but that's not going to be the settlement of it. The settlement of it is going to be able to accept the truth so that it can bring peace.
Well, that's one thing that I have to work with, because I am very angry about what's happened, and my daughter is working with me closely to make sure I get these things right. But before I turn this back over to you, I'd like to know where on RV Bay can I find out information on how I can get back my ancestry. Hold on. Islam is energy.
Get back
my mom would like to learn. Excuse me?
I'm sorry, what did you say? Where you get back?
This is energy. My mom is basically, what she's getting ready to ask you, she would like to know where on RV Bay publication can she go to study how to secure her house that she just paid cash completely for. So there is no, she's not mortgaged or anything, it's completely paid. And as well as her car, she paid that completely off as well. And she would like to protect that.
Okay.
But it's not under day.
Protect it from what? If she paid cash for it, you said?
Yes, it's paid. Yes, it's completely paid for, but you got okay.
You talking about the local county taxes that they said they'll take it from you. You don't pay. Okay.
Yeah, they're coming at her now.
Okay, all right. She didn't have a mortgage, right?
Yeah, she does not have a mortgage.
Okay, well, she's in a better position than most, because the whole point is she needs to understand that as an Aboriginal Indigenous national, and being
claim is greater.
This ancestral state, who are they to tell her that she has to pay excise taxes to them? That's what she needs to deal with from that perspective.
Yes,
and the reason I asked you about the mortgage is because a lot of people get the mortgage agreement, and in that mortgage agreement, it also includes that you agree to pay taxes to the local county. Well, in her case, she didn't have a mortgage, so she has to stand on that. Now, if she's a Negro, colored, black in the jurisdiction, says she lives in Ohio or wherever, the city of whatever, then she put herself in the jurisdiction, which means that she's agreed that she's going to pay them taxes because she's a member/citizen of that corporation, and they're trying to handle her property her ancestral estate as if it is a property or owned by the corporation. Therefore, she pays taxes because she's a corporation too. So the first thing is her status must change as to who she is. And then
it is done.
It's done. Huh?
It has been done.
Did y'all check the mortgage myth page yet, sis?
Yeah.
The mortgage. Okay, so that's the page she got to go to. What was the mortgage?
Well, she doesn't have a mortgage, but you can
read
read it.
She doesn't have a mortgage. That was my whole thing. That trying to navigate
but
the site.
The principles are there. The principles. The whole mortgage thing is basically saying, "Who the hell are you to tell me I owe you anything?" In that respect, you got to understand about tax. Then go to the about taxes page also and understand the position regarding taxes and that you are not taxed.
Okay.
What we're going to have to do is, what we're going to have to do is
corrected.
This conversation offline because it is a lot more involved. So what we'll do is we'll set up a time to have a conversation with you so we can get more in detail.
Because let's say this, and then we'll end it. Jurisdiction means right words. And if she's not in her proper person, she will go there and say things that puts her, again, under the jurisdiction, talking the wrong, talking about owner. It's an ancestral state. She doesn't own it. Go ahead, man.
And one thing I wanted to say to your matri, too, is that on the subject of where she could get some more, information, some things that help change a lot of people's lives, is Are You in Denial of Your Ancestry, Part 1, in the book by J.A. Rogers, Nature Knows No Color Line. Those right there is jam-packed with references on Moorish history. I just wanted to add that on. So,
J.A. Rogers.
J.A. Rogers, Nature Knows No Color Line, and Are You in Denial of Your Ancestry? But as it relates to, that's just for your mother's continued education, so to speak. Mm-hmm. But as it relates to the house and the conveyance, we'll talk more offline. All right?
Okay.
Just send us a text. Send us a text when you're available, and we'll get together.
Okay.
All right.
All right. I guess I can send it to Miss. That's the number. I got Anthony. I got all three of y'all actually.
Yes.
Okay. So J.J. Rogers, Are You in Denial of Your? Okay. Peace.
All right.
That's
all right. Peace and love. Right. All right. This is the last caller. Caller 111111. You are live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest Maxim.
Rassel Bay. You know who it was by the numbers.
You gotta speak up, bro.
Okay. First of all, I was muted from the chat room, and I didn't say nothing disrespectful.
Can you speak louder?
You didn't hear you really.
Okay.
We can't hear you.
Let me turn this mic up. Is that better for you? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, I was muted from the chat room. Y'all took me out the chat room, and I didn't say nothing disrespectful. I was only stating truth and stating facts. And I'm just trying to figure out, if we're going to be a nation that's not going to be divided, why am I being turned away? Because what I said in that chat room, I didn't say nothing wrong. Y'all
we don't know what you're talking about.
You gave me You gave me a nationality card, and my mother is European. And
then you shouldn't have it. You should have the one that honors your mother. And if that happens, and first of all, who are we speaking to?
And now you're going to start talking, right, and cut me off. And y'all did that to me.
I'm asking you, who are you?
Yo,
what is your appellation? No, let's hold on. What is who are we talking to? Who are we talking to? You didn't say who you were. What is your appellation? What is your appellation?
Ross.
What is your appellation? Who are you?
I just was trying to say it to you. Ross Ayasu Emmanuel Tafari El Bay.
Tafari Rise?
Yeah. Same brother that called in last week about the children of his mother. This is
hold on.
You don't know what your appellation is.
If you have a card that says that you are an Aboriginal Indigenous, More American National, that's part of why we started being a little tight screened on the cards, then you, in honor of your own mother, ought to have a card that has the nationality of your mother on it. So thanks for bringing that up. All right, that ought not happen, but you should be respecting your mother, and you should want to have a card that has what she is.
Okay.
And that's the end of that.
Okay, see how you talking to me? You just try to cut me off like you're right, I'm wrong. But everything you say gets researched and it gets reflected. And if it's going to be true, it's going to be true.
But you just said your mother is not a Moor American national, Aboriginal. You just said that. We didn't say that. You did. So I'm saying to you that in honor of your mother, you should have a card that says so. That's all I'm saying. I'm not cutting you off. That's a fact. That's the fact. Now, the fact is that you got a card, and I told you that we now try to screen that a little better. Thanks for bringing it to the attention of the family. But you yourself, in honor and respect of your own mother, should want to have that for your in honor of your mother. And there's nothing to debate about it.
That makes sense. But let me add this. Every child receives 23 chromosomes of information from both parents. So how can this one side determine what the nationality of the child is when both sides, it's an even split of 23 chromosomes? It doesn't make any sense.
It has nothing to do with that.
What does it have to do with?
It has nothing to do with that. Whatever your mother is what you are, period. That ends all debate. It ends all debate. It factually ends all debate.
Who said that? Who determined that?
Because you just said that your mother is a European. The fact in international law, in national law, and in nature, and in all things that are written out, it says the condition of the child is based on the mother, brother. Because of the fact that the condition of the child is based on the mother. That's national, international, and natural law.
The great prophet Asa did not teach that. That was
not you want to debate that, and there's nothing to debate. What came first, the chicken or the egg? The chicken that laid the egg that laid the egg is female, and the egg itself is female. So we don't even have a debate about that. Now you're talking about nationality. The chromosomes didn't determine the nationality. Your mother did. And in honor of your mother, if you admit that she is whatever she is, whatever her European nationality is, then that's all that matters. That's it and that's all. There's nothing to debate. You want to debate something that's not debatable.
It says you. That's what you say. But there are other grand sheiks. There are other grand sheiks who disagree with
I don't care about what other grand sheiks think that we're citizens of the United States of America. And they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
But you say the nationality
determines a guy, a girl. What were you talking about?
Dariah Bay is one of them. She said that what y'all teach, that's a lie because the seed determines it. That's from another grand sheik. And there are other ones too.
Who's Mariah Bay? Where is she at?
I said Dariah. You know who I'm talking
about. Dariah. Hold on. Dariah, who's the prime minister, her title, which is a British law, which is a British title. And she says that she's the head of the Moorish nation. So that shit disqualified right there. Because she calls herself a British minister. A British minister. Hold on. She calls herself a British minister, but she's from the Moorish nation. So she's disqualified right there in the story, nothing to debate.
She isn't the only one, though. You gave me a nationality card, and you didn't care.
That was my mistake. That's my mistake because I didn't ask you for a nationality card because talk here. My mistake was to give you that card, brother, and you're admitting it on public. You're admitting it on public record. You're admitting on public record that your mother is not an Aboriginal and Indigenous Moor. That you're going to honor your mother, that you're going to honor your mother, that you're going to honor your mother. So you're admitting public record that we made a mistake and gave you a card, which is why we start screening more diligently. But what I'm saying to fix this matter is that you ought to have the respect for your mother and honor her That's all I'm saying. And then that way you would say, sister, you know what? My mother's European. Well, what is she, Irish or whatever she is? And you need to honor your mother, and then we need to work on screening better. So now you don't have to say that again because we just resolved it. There's no more for you to say.
It's good that you admitted that y'all need to screen better because that right.
Sometimes diabetes can feel more like don't-abetes. Don't do this, don't forget that. But with a little help from Walgreens, diabetes won't slow you down. Stop by to get expert pharmacy advice 24/7 and savings on medications and supplies. You can even get rewarded for healthy behaviors like logging your glucose.